Greetings and peace to you and yours, wherever you might be watching this from. The title of this video will be The Teachings of Rumi and its Similarity with Freemasonry. Now, Rumi is often like an overlooked poet with his teachings of unity, love for all mankind, getting close to God, and the aspects of self-improvement, which are in correlation with what Freemasonry teaches. Now, even in growing up in the West with the school system, we were often given a number of poets to study, but we would never be taught about the poets from the East. And I believe in today's spiritually empty society, we can still learn a lot from these great teachers that had walked the earth once. And I believe that we need to express our teachings and to learn from them in a way where it helps everybody. So I hope everybody enjoys this presentation with the all the poems that I will go through. Now, I picked the top 10 poems that I wanted to go over. Now, Rumi is such an extensive subject. There's like so much to go over, but I wanted to keep this in a limited time frame where I express his the gist of what he was trying to teach and how it relates to what Freemasonry teaches. So I hope you enjoy, and thanks for watching. Rumi is a Persian poet from the 13th century, born in the Khorasan area, which was the northern Afghanistan, Iran area, like in the modern day. His birth name is Jalaluddin Muhammad Rumi, and he's a 13th century scholar, Sufi mystic, poet, and founder of the Mevlevi Sufi order, which are the whirling dervishes. His teachings profess becoming one with God, uniting, uplifting the fallen state of mankind, and service to all, which is in correlation with what Freemasonry teaches to its modern-day members. Now, Rumi espoused, even at that time, the fact that, okay, we're all one human race, no matter what religion you are, what you believe, where you come from. We all share a common purpose in this life. And we all have a talent or a gift to contribute to one another, to help one another in this journey, the spiritual journey that we have found ourselves in this lifetime. And him also founding the Whirling Dervishes also shows what kind of individual he was, with his stance on unity and love for all mankind. Now, the Whirling Dervishes, you see them. They wear the big hats, and they're always like twirling all the time, and they're just becoming, I guess it's like a trance where you're always like in the remembrance of Almighty God. That's how Sufism teaches you. And what they do is like they're always in a constant circular motion to become one with the universe, and to become one with that great power that's above, watching over us all. And you see that at Mecca, where everyone's doing the circular motion, and the universe is like in a circular motion. And I guess some people relate that to Saturn, like the North Core of Saturn, where it's like a big circular storm going on all the time. So it's that 360-degree energy that we share across the cosmos, and that's what the Whirling Dervishes try to teach us. And Sufism's aspect and what Rumi teaches is that even in Freemasonry, where you have a lodge and there's a master and then there's the brothers under him, so in Sufism there will be a sheikh, and then he'll have his disciples under him, and then their concept is the same about helping humanity, improving yourself, getting closer to God, and all those things that I guess have existed in some form or another, like throughout the world and throughout the ages, in its own way. So it's interesting how these ideas, even before any said organization's official founding, have always like descended from one way or shape or form to even our modern day world, where I believe that these teachings are needed now more than ever, in a world where everyone's living in fear and in anxiety, and no one's willing to interact with each other like we used to. And we need to learn from these great teachers. in a world that needs to be uplifted. The first poem I would like to discuss from Rumi is called The Guest House. And this one says that this being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows, who violently sweep your house, empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Now, this, in today's world where we think that everyone and everything is out here to get us, I think this is very, very good and relative poem to be shared, because he's teaching us that, okay, this world, this temporary life that we have been given, why waste your time just worrying about what he said, what she said? Just focus on improving yourself and focus on making this world a better place. Keep smiling, stay happy, because those moments of inevitable order out of chaos are meant to be in our lives anyway. I've never seen anybody in my life, even if they had all the money and resources in the world, where every day was a good day for them. You do have good and bad, because that's the balance we found ourselves in. Order cannot exist without chaos, and they cannot exist by their own self. So he is teaching us in this poem, and what Freemasonry teaches us is to always walk the middle path and not let any negativity cloud your growth or cloud your judgment when it's time for you to focus on the path that you need to focus on, or to do the things that you need to do. And there have also been instances where in your mind you might think that this person or this thing is against you, but in the whole time they were working in your favor. So it's always good to be positive and give the benefit of the doubt. And when you're outside, just say good morning to somebody. Don't try to avoid making eye contact, because we share that responsibility of a world with all our modern technology and advancements. We're still spiritually very empty compared to the times of our ancestors. And I believe that this is one of those poems that really reflects what Rumi taught in his Mevlevi order of Sufis, and what Freemasonry teaches us today. And I'll move on to the next one now. Now, this is another favorite of mine, and this goes: half a life is lost in charming others. The other half is lost in going through anxieties caused by others. Leave this play. You have played enough. Now, this relates to Freemasonry in a beautiful way, because both are telling you to focus on self-improvement and stop worrying about what others think, or stop wasting your time on what he said or what she said. And it just goes to show you that the one that becomes the perfect master will not stop at each time where he gets irritated by every stone that gets thrown at him. He has to continue walking towards the path and building towards the path. And the example could be if a master is walking with his student and somebody says something to the master to get under his skin. It's a form of psychological warfare, but the master, who could easily defeat him, keeps walking and ignores him. And the student wonders, my master could have easily defeated this individual, but why did he choose to just keep walking and focus on his own self-improvement? And the reason is that there will be, when you choose this path of self-improvement, there is a spiritual warfare, you could say, where you will be put through trials and tribulation. And you will have things out here that will test you, try to get under your skin, and psychological warfare, whatever you want to call it. But it just shows you that if you master your own self and you control your own self, then no matter what big power of this world is standing in front of you, they have nothing over you, because you are the one that has become the perfect master and has ascended above the terrestrial sphere. And that's just what both Rumi and what Freemasonry teach you, is that you have to continue to be in a state of improvement, do good unto all, but at the same time, don't let the other side of this world try to get under your skin and try to make you lose focus. This poem focuses on the concept of the immortality of the soul, which both Sufism, the teachings of Rumi, and Freemasonry share. And this goes, death has nothing to do with going away. The sun sets, the moon sets, but they are not gone. And I believe sometimes we think that, okay, once we're gone, but our existence and our source of energy and our life always continues in some way, shape, or form. Whether we get transmuted in some way or energetically we get shifted to another dimension or another lifetime, whatever happens, our souls are, I guess you could say, in a continuous cycle of working our way up to become one with God. And this is somewhat Sufism teaches you, is that, okay, you have a mineral that goes from a plant, then a plant to animal, then a man to angel, then an angel goes to God. And that's one of the concepts of Sufi Islam. And just I guess Sufism in general, which all religions can relate to, is that, the path is to get closer to Almighty God, and it's a form of improvement of yourself and your soul. And it also teaches you that, okay, you know what? We grieve when we lose our loved ones, or we grieve when there's some kind of loss, but I say that in the grand scheme of things, we're always where we're meant to be. And we all waste our time in our lives thinking, okay, who am I? What's my purpose? What am I supposed to do? And I believe wherever the Almighty has placed you and whatever currently you're doing, that's your purpose. And that's how life goes. Life is a story, how your jobs, your places, people's interactions all change throughout the seasons. And everything just comes automatically to you. And that's how this journey really is don't grieve the loss of anything or anyone, because it will all be returned to you in some way, shape, or form, or that their presence is required elsewhere. You just keep focusing on the grand scheme of things, which tells you that you just keep striving for what you're working for, to uplift the fallen state of mankind, and to continue to spread the love and light in a world where it's sorely lacking. And we owe that responsibility to our future generations. Inevitably, what will be mankind's fate in the end? Like, let's say 10,000 years from now. Will we still be here? But at the same time, let's make a difference to each other, and a difference that's meaningful to each of us, even if it doesn't make a difference in the grand scheme of things. Let's take life one day at a time, knowing that somehow, some way, we'll always be a part of each other, and we will continue to exist no matter what. So that's why this poem really touched me, and I wanted to include it in this presentation. This is the next poem, and I believe that this one is more relevant in today's world now more than ever, where everybody's looking for an echo chamber to hide in, and they're just afraid of dealing with anybody whose opinions and beliefs differ from them, because they think that he or she might be against them. And that's what we need back in our society, and thinking that, okay, just because you live in a gated community or you think you're in a safe spot doesn't mean that you don't share the same world as anyone else. And we owe that to each other, to come together and have a common decency towards one another. And I believe that even your modern day Freemasonry can learn from this, and especially with some acts of social media etiquette that you see on online forums, where instead of having common understanding, okay, things are done differently in different places, everybody's just in constant arguments, and they fall into that ego trap and of okay, I'm right and you're wrong. So we need to get out of that and focus on the good of all in the grand scheme of things. Now this poem goes like, don't run around this world looking for a hole to hide in. There are wild beasts in every cave. If you live with mice, the cat claws will find you. The only real rest comes when you're alone with God. Live in the nowhere, that you came from, even though you have an address here. So it's basically the concept of just be in this world as you are a traveler, be in this world as you are a wanderer. And we know that, okay, we woke up and, okay, yeah, we have jobs, we have occupations, money, resources, etc. But how long will that last for? And will we take any of that with us? And will retreating to any echo chamber or safe suburban community save us from the spiritual karma that we try to avoid by looking the other way when there was a problem we know we could do something about, but you just kept on walking because you were more concerned about protecting your own titles and your own safety and your comfort? So it's just telling you the shared responsibility we all share with each other, whether you're following Sufism or Freemasonry or you're on your own individual spiritual path. This is relative to all of us, because it tells us that instead of falling into any echo chambers or ego traps, sit down with somebody across the table that has a disagreement with you, or their religion, race, beliefs, whatever, are different from you, and have a respectful conversation that you can come on the middle path where you both walk away with a respect for each other. So you don't have to agree, but the basic decency and respect should always be there for your fellow man, no matter what. And I believe that in today's society, that has been more discouraged more than ever, because everybody's living in fear. Nobody looks at each other. They only want to sit down with people that agree with them. So they're not growing in a way spiritually. You're not going to grow if you just stick with your own clique and not make the effort to approach somebody, give them a smile and a hug, and be like, okay, this is where you stand, this is where I stand. How can we still be brothers and friends and still meet in the middle? Because that's what the correct individual on the path of self-mastery and improvement will make the effort to do. And you got to look at the fact that, okay, it's like the people out here that said, okay, if you don't believe what I believe, you're condemned to hell. How do you know what that person's spiritual rank is in the spirit world? You're just judging them by the flesh. And that person could be the nicest person in the world, and they might be doing great things without telling anybody. So we need to get out of that mind frame and learn to give everybody equal respect and reserve that judgment and sit down. And even if the person is against you or whatever egos that both sides have fallen into, walk away respectfully. And that way, when we're able to do that and improve those concepts in our mind and improve ourselves, then automatically the world becomes a better place when we make the efforts to improve ourselves and others in it. So this is one of the poems by Rumi that stood out to me. This poem focuses on the concept of free will, and you have to choose the path that's good for you. And it goes, doing as others told me, I was blind. Coming when others called me, I was lost. Then I left everyone, myself as well. Then I found everyone, myself as well. Now, relating from a personal experience, Rumi is expressing this beautiful expression of the for those that follow that path of self-mastery, saying that you have to take charge of your own life. Don't let old customs and old anything that's like preventing your growth in any way. You have to continue being that builder, and you have to continue being that craftsman in all that you do. And those that have that mentality that we always done it this way, you got to realize that the path of self-mastery, whether it's Sufism, Freemasonry, or anything else you might follow, it's a continuous work in progress. And if you just stay stuck at one spot and refuse to get out of your comfort zone, then you're basically doing an injustice, not just to yourself, but to the entire endeavor. So you have to use your free will to always listen to your heart and always do what's right for you. And even myself, through personal situations where I always acted upon what I felt was the right thing to do at the time. Some might have disagreed with me. Others might have seen me as a bad person. But as time went on, all the things eventually fall in place and you're right back at where you belong, stronger than you were before. So sometimes you do have to take risks. On this path of self-mastery, you do have to take risks to basically see a vision that no one can see but you. So they think that you lost everything, okay, he's done and all that stuff, but the thing is that the path that you chose to walk, only some have the comprehension to understand your mindset and your long-term goals on the path that you chose. And this idea of everybody just conforming to, okay, everybody's the same and everybody just wants to act the same, that's not true. Sometimes you got to step outside the box. And it's like in the Western education system, they have a one-size system that fits all. But that's not true, and that's why a majority of them are lost and confused by the time they get out of school, not knowing still what their path is. So you have to let everyone focus on their own individual path, because that's when you are truly free, and to know that, okay, this is where I stand, this is who I am, this is what I represent, and this is what I need to do. So that's why I believe that the concept of knowing thyself is like basically the true victory. And we're always looking for answers here and there, but at the same time, it's like when you really do come to that conclusion, the answer was within you that whole time. And that's what the core teaching, I believe, of Sufism is in terms of what Rumi is teaching us with his expressions, and also relates to Freemasonry as well, that you have to be a free thinker and you have to do what's right for you, which is good for you and good for others, without having any bad intention for anybody. And if you choose that, then you are on the correct path, and not let any prejudged condemnations and other things that are telling you that if you don't follow it this way, then okay, then you're excluded, and etc., etc. You always got to do what's right for you. And in the end, this universe works in such a beautiful way that you come back as stronger as before, and you never really lose anything. So I know that most of you probably have a personal life story that can relate to this. So that's why I picked this poem, because I thought it was reflective of the journey of many of those who have walked this path of self-mastery and becoming one with Almighty God. This is another poem of Rumi that I really, really liked. And it relates to Freemasonry as well, with the Sufism teachings. And this one goes, I searched for God and found only myself. I searched for myself and found only God. Now, the quest for self-improvement and knowing thyself also relates to the verses that you find in the book of Luke, where it says that the kingdom of heaven is within, and in the Holy Bible, book of Luke, and also in the Holy Quran, on Surah 50, or chapter 50, they have a verse in there that we are closer to, Almighty God says that we are closer to mankind than his jugular vein, and we know what his soul whispers to him. So it just shows you that we might spend our entire lives looking for the answers to our purpose outside of us, but in reality, you just have to look yourself in the mirror and feel that, okay, whatever touches your heart, that's what you follow and that's what you do, in terms of, okay, I'm facing X, Y, and Z, and how do I solve it, or how do I deal with it in an appropriate way, so which benefits me and others in my life. So it tells you that, this higher power, whatever religion you might believe in, or whatever spiritual path you might walk, is everything is within us, and we are that divine expression that is, I guess, being spiritual beings, we're having a physical experience. And to know that, okay, right now we're going through this phase of this physical 3D life, and then once this is over, we might be somewhere else, and then we might be somewhere else after that. And to know that in this life, you're never truly alone. Even when you think that you are, and think that nobody's with you, you always have higher powers at play that are watching out for you and working things out for your best interest, even if you at the time think that he or she or XYZ is against you. You got to look at things in the grand scheme of things and live your life one day at a time, being the best that you can be, and making a difference in the lives of those that have put their faith in you and that depend on you. And once we do that, then we don't think that, okay, 10,000 years from now, is humanity still going to be here, or is all this work going to be for nothing? So you have to realize that, okay, maybe things might continue or they might not continue, but let us focus on that inward expression of us being connected to the divine and try to leave a better world behind. And look past those illusions that separate us, because we're one human race. Let us look past those the color coding system that has separated us, and focus on the commonality that we all share. And we go sit down in the train, we go to work, go to school, and there's people of all backgrounds and colors and creeds working together. They're trying to help their families together, raise their kids together. And at the end, everybody has the same hopes and dreams just like you do. And there will be those, the agents of chaos that exist in every race, religion, group in the world, that will try to cause divide between your fellow man. And anything that's causes division of any kind in any way, shape, or form is ungodly. So you have to focus on the path that, okay, if the connection to God is within me, then the other person I disagree with has that same privilege granted to them. So why should we be enemies? We have something in common that we share. So how about we, even though we might share our disagreements, how about instead of being in an echo chamber, we walk on the middle path and get to know one another and to live and let live. So this is one of those expressions of Rumi and Sufism that also relate to Freemasonry stood out to me, and I wanted to share this. Now, the next poem I want to share is the concept of living in a world which is an illusion. And I always liked when, I guess, the concept where you ask somebody how they're doing and they said, okay, yeah, I'm living the dream, or everything is going well. And how, I guess it was the Mickey Mouse song that, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. And it goes to show you that we just got to stop taking things too seriously. If we're just going through a spiritual endeavor, and we're just going through a spiritual school, that's just that path of growth that we chose to go through, then just stay happy, keep smiling, and don't let any of those other beings get under your skin whose agenda is to, deprive you of that path of self-mastery and improvement. So to get to the poem, this place is a dream. Only a sleeper considers it real. Then death comes like a dawn, and you wake up laughing at what you thought was your grief. And that's the concept Rumi is teaching us through his Sufi teachings, and what Freemasonry teaches us through the memento mori and the mortality of man, that just always keep smiling, keep doing the best that you can do for your fellow man and for yourself and for your family, and to, not think too much and not take things too seriously. I might have all the worries in the world, and I might go out and get hit by a car, or I might drop dead at any moment, and at the end, will any of that make any difference? That, okay, that this person during this life was worrying about these things, and at the end, eventually, whatever worries you have, you notice from life experience that they fall in place anyway. Things eventually work out for their own good. So what does worrying do good for any of us? Let us focus on staying happy, maintaining that happiness, getting people out of that loneliness and depression that our society is consumed by, and telling them, okay, you know what? Don't think too much. Don't worry too much. Do the best that you can, and at the end, leave it all in God's hand. That's all you can do. And to make things right with those who you believe that you might have, fallen out. Because in this society, especially in the Western society, through my personal experience, others can have the right to disagree with me, is that here, when they quote unquote fall out with somebody, They forget all the good times and the good lessons and the good moments they shared together, and they want nothing to do with them again, not knowing that that person might have viewed you the same way, or their presence might be required somewhere else, or their light might be required somewhere else. Your presence and light might be required somewhere else. So just wish them the best, and you just keep it moving. It's not like, oh, okay, this person's here and I'm here and I don't want to speak to them again. That's that attitude that we need to get out of, because this life is like a chapter and it's like a book, and seasons, peoples, locations all change as the story goes on. So just because, okay, characters 1, 2, and 3 were in this phase of your life and they're not in the next phase, doesn't make them bad in the eyes of God. That means now their purpose has changed. Their presence is required elsewhere. Your presence is required here. And you know that when you run into certain people, that you realize that, okay, I was the one that was meant to tell them these things, or I was the one that was meant to guide them on this path and help them on this way, or help them make a decision or share a moment together. So we're all walking each other home. And that's what this whole, I guess, concept of this being a dream world is that we're all an extension of each other and we're all walking each other home. So don't hate, just love one another and just take things one day at a time. This is one of my favorite poems by Rumi, and it preaches the tolerance of love and understanding and the bond that we share with our fellow man. And this also relates from Rumi's Sufi teachings to, I guess it was a quote by Manly Palmer Hall in terms of, in relation to Freemasonry, which says that the true Mason bows before every altar and shrine because he sees himself as a part of the great work. And narrow minds don't have a place in the one great big work to help restore the fallen state of humanity, to unite humanity, and to improve the state of humanity. And by doing so, you automatically improve the world. So the poem goes, "My heart has become capable of every form. It is a pasture for gazelles, and a covenant for Christian monks, and a temple for idols, and the pilgrim's Kaaba, and the tables of the Torah, and the book of the Quran. I follow the religion of love, whatever way love's camels take. Love is my religion, and love is my faith." I can relate to this personally myself, because I came to this country as an immigrant, and growing up, I always had love for everybody. I would take Bible classes and Quran classes on the same day, because my concept was not of condemnation or of hate. I wanted to love everybody and to understand everybody. And I wanted to know, okay, how does this person view life? How do they approach things? How does this individual view life? And what do they all have in common? Or going to the Gurdwara Sikh temples on the same day as well. And everybody's basically preaching that same message of love, unity, understanding, and do good unto all. So when we see any hate that takes place, whether in person or in online, even those that are hiding behind the guise of, you could say self-improvement groups or anything like that, you gotta call it out for what it is, because we owe that responsibility to each other. Anybody that's hiding behind an identity and they're professing hate in any way, you gotta call it out, because the idea of whether it's, say, Sufism, Rumi's teachings, Freemasonry, or just being an overall decent human being, it's about respecting all, because it's like what Manly Palmer Hall said, is that a narrow mind does not have a place in the one great big work that humanity's involved in. And anything that causes division of any way, shape, or form is not of God, and it's ungodly, and it takes you away from the path of self-improvement, self-mastery, and you fall into the darkness of the ego trap, and of that trap where you are separated from your fellow man. And I tell people that you got to do what's right, and you can't let whatever powers that have divided mankind for so long still maintain their control, because what good has thousands of years of fighting done for anybody? So I encourage everyone to take charge in their communities, whether it's religious, social, fraternal, whatever you're involved in, and speak out against those that preach hate or division of any kind. And you could have a concept where you respect everybody and you just live and let live, and don't post anything even on your social medias that causes any hate or confusion of any kind, because you are given the free will to act how you're acting. And if you choose to act a certain way on social media, in your communities, in your job, in your life, and then you hide behind an identity which says that, oh, I'm a good person, then there's a spiritual price to pay for that. So you got to be good in all circumstances, no matter what, because we owe that to each other. Even if you don't agree with supposedly another faith or another race, at least sit down with them and walk away with a respectful disagreement where you're both letting each other have the freedom to live, and the compromise that, okay, we respectfully respect each other and we both have the right to believe what we want to believe as free thinkers. So that's the world that I think we can strive for, even if people don't want to, I guess, understand or believe others. But the excuse of imperfection, the world is imperfect and people are imperfect, but that excuse does not give you the permission to lack decency towards your fellow man. So we gotta work on that fact that we all need to work together and we're all in this together. Even if you go to a diverse community to work, and then at the end you go hide behind a gated community or a community that has nothing to do with the people you're serving. So we're all in this together, so you got to remember that. So that's why this poem stood out for me also. The next poem goes, there is a life force within your soul. Seek that life. There is a gem in the mountains of your body. Seek that mine. O traveler, if you are in search of that, don't look outside. Look inside yourself and seek that. Now, what Rumi is teaching in correlation with Sufism and Freemasonry is that those that are walking that path of self-improvement, self-mastery, and self-knowledge need to know that that knowledge is always within you that whole time. You were searching and striving to climb up that ladder, so to say. And that's the same way that when Neo goes to the Oracle really doesn't help him. She just always points to the sign that was always above his head, where in Latin it would say, to know thyself. And the answers that we seek are always within our hearts. And I believe that when it comes time where we feel confused about making certain decisions or doing the right thing or whatever situation life places us in, you always put faith in yourself that, okay, everything eventually works out for its greater good or its purpose. And then I have to be willing to step out of my comfort zone to allow those changes to take place, because you do have your free will, and you have to use your free will to let the universe or the higher powers or whatever faith you believe in to surrender your heart in a way where everything works out, and you let those energies come in, and in correlation with your heart and with your free will, you always make the right choices and always find yourself in a situation in life where it's always designed to help you and designed to help those that you love. So it's teaching us that we have to look within ourselves. Stop looking outside in any way. It's all within you, and just sit down, close your eyes 30 minutes a day and think, this is what I did today. This is what I could have done right. This is what I could have said better. And you just take it day by day, write a journal, and just reflect on that. Because it's just like going to the doctors, okay? The doctor will tell you, okay, you need to exercise more, you need to do this, you need to do that. The doctor can only give you advice. At the end, you're the one that has to do everything. So it's basically a lifestyle change. I mean, pills won't help. Pills can only take you so far, but at the end, it really comes down on you. If you make the choice by yourself to do it for you, to make that lifestyle change and to help yourself in all the ways possible, that's when you achieve true freedom in your life, knowing that I am the maker of my own destiny, and Almighty God is within me, as all the holy scriptures describe. And it's my job to make my life what it is, because your life is what you make it. And with that positive attitude, you just let the worries and the stresses go and have a beautiful, I guess, experience in this world and in the short time that has been given to us. Life is beautiful, but it's also short. So we need to not waste any time looking outside or getting into disagreements or fallouts with others, but rather focus on our own self-improvement and know that I have it within me to make myself better and to make others better. And you just carry on with that, and you can live a beautiful life. The final poem I would like to talk about is the concept of stop worrying about what others think, and stop being in that mindset, okay, I have to conform or to get along with others if I want to fit into a said group or in a certain mentality. And that will always restrict you from your real freedom as a free thinker and as a free man. So it goes like this. I want to sing like the birds. Sing, not worrying about who hears or what they think. And that's, I believe, not just in, I guess you could say, the regular corporate world or life in general, or I guess even some of the hierarchies of Freemasonry, where everybody falls into the ego trap, or if they see something wrong, they'll look the other way. We all owe this duty to our fellow man to sometimes speak out how we really feel and not worry about, okay, I have to protect this acronym or number that's next to my name, or whatever title or honor that's bestowed upon you, because what good is that going to do you if it's only for this life, and if you had a chance to do something good for somebody, but rather you chose not to speak because you thought, okay, this person might disagree with me and this might happen or that might happen. I was always, I thank God I was not like that always, and I never will be, because I always live my life fearlessly. And at the end, even if some people thought I lost stuff or lost things, I never lost anything. I got everything back, because the higher powers at play in this universal grand scheme of things, they know what's in your heart. And if you always choose to stand up for what's right, then you always become stronger than who you were before, in all ways, shape, and form. Because that is the path to self-mastery. If you don't want to take a risk, then you can't open a business. And if you don't want to take a risk, then how can you be successful if you don't want to take no risks? And that's just the game that we find ourselves in. Stop worrying about what can go wrong and what others will say or what will happen, and take stance to improve the grand scheme of things for everybody's benefit. Make things better for everybody. Show love to everybody. Smile at everybody. Hug everybody. It doesn't cost you anything to be a decent human being. You always got to take the right choice, because for our actions and inactions in this life, there is a spiritual price to pay, and I cannot stress that enough. And I tell everybody that whatever honors or numbers or acronyms you might have next to your name, it's only for this life, because life is beautiful, but it's also short. And I guess we forget our mortality sometimes when we think that, okay, oh, I'm not going to say anything, or, they might view me as crazy, or they might view me as bad. You just got to go for it. Life is too short. You got to enjoy it. You got to be happy. Express yourself freely, because that's when you have truly broken free from the shackles that the agents of chaos would like to keep you in, because they want to keep you divided from your fellow man, because they like to put fears in your mind, thinking that, oh, you just leave them alone, just worry about your own self, oh, just ignore the problem. That's not what real Sufis do. That's not what real Masons do. And that's not what anybody does that's on that path of religion, self-mastery, spirituality, or anything of that nature. And you got to have the courage to look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, does the other person have the courage to sit down with me face to face in front of a table, look me in the eye, and have a conversation that, okay, I wish you well, you wish me well. How can we work together and walk on the middle path for each other, even if we disagree? Now, when you come to that mindset and not just try to run away from problems, then that's when you improve everything for everybody's benefit. And that's what I really liked what Rumi teaches, which is probably more relative to the modern world and its organizations more than it has ever been. So let us make the effort to get to know one another, get to love one another, and to see, okay, how can this person's knowledge aid my self-mastery, and what do I have to offer to them? Or not falling into the trap that, oh, they're wrong and I'm right. And that doesn't help anybody in the end. So this was the final poem that I wanted to conclude this presentation with. And I hope you like it. And I thank you for sticking with me so far. Thank you for all watching. All images used in this video and all the images that I used for the different poems were from Google search and protected under the copyright laws of fair use, which is for the purpose of educational purpose. If any questions or comments, please email me at salmonshake911@gmail.com. I thank you again for all the love and support all of you have continued to show me and are continuing to show me, and I appreciate everything. And I encourage you also that if you have anything to offer to aid mankind, then put yourself out there, because we live in a society where we just can't knock on people's doors anymore. Now it's like everybody's just connected in this technology transhumanist world. So in order to reach the masses, social media and YouTube and all these other things are inevitable tools that we just can't avoid using. You have to use them, and in a good way, because just like technology and other things, you could use them for good or bad, but you always want to use it for good, to help humanity, because that's the phase that we're in, is instead of knocking on doors or arranging meetings or making flyers, you reach them on a platform where they find it easier to access you. And you also, I guess, entertain them in a way. It's just like a school teacher. The funny school teacher is always the one who the kids listen to, and they always can't wait to go to their classes. And that's the technique that teacher uses, is to become friendly with them and to make them laugh. So that way, whatever he's trying to teach them, their minds are open to receive it, because he has already broken that barrier of confusion or whatever that happens between a master and his student. So that's what we need in today's world, is that, okay, we have to be willing to use these different platforms and to grow with the times and advance with the times, to get to know one another and to not be in our own echo chambers with just those that agree with us, because then you don't grow that way and you're doing yourself an injustice. So I thank you again for watching my video, and if any questions or comments, please feel free to email me. So the reason I keep the YouTube comments off, because there are agents of chaos that even exist on YouTube, and you notice that all over YouTube videos, people are just fighting with one another. People just ignore what the video is teaching them, and they just like go straight to the comments because of the short attention span that exists these days. So that's why I want whoever comes to my channel, I want them to just focus on what I'm trying to tell them. And if anything, if they have any communication, then feel free to reach to me by my email. So I'm not limiting any communication. It's just I'm trying to limit those that come and try to cause chaos and try to cause hatred. And I'm just not giving them a chance to do that, because my platform is to spread love and to spread light, and to not give a chance to those beings to come and sprout their hatred. So if anybody feels the need to communicate anything with me, my email is here. Alright, thanks again for watching, and I wish you all a beautiful, beautiful rest of January in 2020.